have a minute, yeah, okay. We're just getting a little excited about our in-person event. And our live stream, yeah, exactly. Cheer for the live stream. So, we'll take our directions from, I take all my directions from Kate and Candy, as you do too, so yeah. All right, should we go ahead and get started? Okay. Okay, welcome students, faculty, staff to our annual Gold Humanism Honor Society induction ceremony. My name is Vineet Arora, and I'm the Dean for Medical Education at the University of Chicago Pritzker School of Medicine. We are so happy to celebrate this year's Gold Humanism Honor Society class in person after a virtual ceremony last year during the pandemic. We are, of course, still in a pandemic, and because of that, and the planning for this event starts many, many weeks ago and months ago in the height of the Omicron surge, in fact. So we're very pleased to be able to offer this event in person, but to keep our family and friends safe, given the uncertainty that we had to face in the beginning of January when we were planning this event, we are so thrilled that many of our friends and family could join us on the live stream. So for everybody on the live stream, I want to give you a round of applause. Thank you. The Gold Humanism Honor Society is dedicated to recognize, support, and promote the values of humanism and professionalism in medicine. The students being honored here tonight were selected by their peers in recognition of their demonstrated compassion, leadership, and commitment to service as role models for the human connection in healthcare. This recognition was actually made during their clinical clerkships during the pandemic. And so I know that during the pandemic, at a time when we have had widespread burnout among our healthcare workforce, to say that these students have risen above and beyond to be recognized for humanism and professionalism is truly an achievement. So I want to say that I am truly impressed by all of your performance. We are also particularly delighted to hear from our faculty Leonard Tao Award winner, who's also our keynote speaker tonight, Dr. Carrie Smith, who's an assistant professor in obstetrics and gynecology, as well as serves as our clerkship director in obstetrics and gynecology, and we'll hear more about her in a minute. I would like to thank the University of Chicago faculty and staff, our families and friends who are watching tonight's celebration. Events such as this evening are part of our ongoing effort at our institution to sustain and advance a culture of humanistic, patient-centered care. Lastly, I would like to thank Dr. Nicola Orlov in her role as the chapter advisor for our Gold Humanism Honor Society chapter. And at this time, I'm going to be handing over this portion of the ceremony to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arora, and welcome to the students, faculty, and family who are joining us tonight. The Gold Humanism Honor Society recognizes students, residents, and faculty members who are exemplars of compassionate patient care and who serve as role models, mentors, and leaders within our community. You are the people who inspire all the rest of us to cultivate those values in the service of our patients. Inspiration for the Gold Humanism Honor Society came from program directors and medical educators who expressed a need to identify applicants to residency training programs who have outstanding clinical and interpersonal skills. In 2005, the Pritzker School of Medicine established a Gold Humanism Honor Society chapter. The society nationwide currently has over 40,000 members, both in training and in practice. Membership to Gold goes beyond the selection and tonight's induction ceremony. Its members have a responsibility to model, support, and advocate for compassionate, patient-centered care throughout their careers. Gold Humanism members are nominated by their peers, as Dr. Arora said, and are asked to consider those who they would want to care for themselves or their family members and who already serve as role models to them. So it is an honor for me tonight to participate in the recognition of you all as you are inducted. The first part of tonight's program will recognize the 2022 Leonard Tao awardees. The Leonard Tao Award is given to those who best demonstrate the Arnold P. Gold Foundation's ideals and outstanding compassion to the delivery of care, respect for patients, their families, and healthcare colleagues, and to clinical excellence. Our fourth-year student and one faculty member were selected to receive the award just after the class completed their fourth year. I would like to invite Cody Sane up to the podium to introduce our fourth-year student awardee, followed by Courtney Amagashi, who will introduce our faculty awardee. Cody.
I am happy to introduce the student awardee of the Leonard Tao Humanism in Medicine Award, Jorge Luis de Avila. For the last 4 years, I have known Jorge as a colleague, a classmate, and a dear friend. For the entire duration of this time, he has been known to spread constant joy and support to the Pritzker student body, the greater Southside community, and even our beloved staff. From his mentorship in the Health Professions Recruitment and Exposure Program, and as a peer educator across 5 courses, to his leadership and service across 4 of our 5 free clinics, and his work on Dean's Council, Jorge simply exemplifies excellence and compassion. Despite all of his commitments, he is always the first person to offer help to a friend or a community in need. His selflessness and tireless dedication to those around him has resonated throughout his time at Pritzker and has now culminated with this honor. Please join me in celebrating this amazing family physician and great friend-to-be, Jorge.
And next, I'd love to invite Courtney up to the podium.
Congratulations again, Jorge. My name is Courtney Amagashi, and I'm so excited to be introducing Dr. Carrie Smith as the Leonard Tao Humanism in Medicine Faculty Awardee and tonight's keynote speaker. This is really such an honor for me because Dr. Smith has been there every step of the way of my Pritzker journey. Dr. Smith is the kind of attending who takes care of everyone on her team. When I was a first year shadowing in labor and delivery, she offered to buy everyone on the team a drink from the CCD Starbucks. And if you know me, you know I don't drink coffee, so I embarrassingly asked for a cake pop instead. And she brought back this bright pink birthday cake pop with sprinkles on it. No judgment, no questions asked. And honestly, it was the most sincere way an attending ever showed me that I was a part of the team too, even as a first year. And now whenever I work with her, she brings me a cake pop, which is just a delight. In second year, she taught a few tough lectures on reproductive physiology. As we were working through the material, she came over to a classmate and I and saw that we were frustrated and just kind of caught up in the haze of second year. She told us to take a break from the medical stuff and immediately required us to take the Harry Potter sorting hat quiz instead. That day, I found out that I'm a Ravenclaw. And honestly, Dr. Smith, I don't remember which one you were, but I did a little Harry Potter research, and you're dedicated, you're kind, you're hardworking and patient, so I'm pretty sure you're a Hufflepuff. That's right? Oh, good. By third year, I got to deliver my first babies with Dr. Smith standing next to me, which were some of the best days of third year for me. And in the operating room after a difficult C-section, she trusted me enough to carry this very large for gestational age, slippery, seconds-old baby from the operating table to the warming table about 10 feet away. and it was literally the most terrifying 10 feet I've ever walked in my life. But I'm grateful that she was right there with me for that too. Time and time again, she's been the blueprint for the kind of physician I want to be when I grow up. She listens to her patients, she's kind to her team. Her patients absolutely love her, and you guys at home can read all the reviews online. Med students describe her as having, quote, excellent vibes, and she takes most major forms of insurance, which is a huge plus. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Dr. Carrie Smith, who will be giving tonight's keynote address.
Okay, Courtney, cake pops for life. Okay. Well, thank you so much. That was so lovely. My mother's gonna love this. She's watching, I'm sure. Okay, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, both in person and virtually, as we come together to honor the students whose combination of empathy and effort have led to their induction into the Gold Humanism Society tonight. When I first received the email from Dr. Aurora letting me know I was chosen as the faculty recipient of the Humanism in Medicine Award, I was overcome with an array of emotions: surprise, happiness, pride, and a bit of guilt, as I know how many others work just as hard, if not harder, than me to care for the patients at the University of Chicago. As I read on and saw that I would be the keynote speaker for this evening's event, these emotions were quickly joined by a few others: fear, anxiety, perhaps a tiny bit of dread. I immediately got busy doing one of the things that I do best: procrastinating. So over the course of the last few months, I intermittently thought about the speech and came up with some great ideas, but these ideas unfailingly came at the most inopportune times: while lying in my bed late at night, while driving my car down Lakeshore Drive, while collecting a pap smear, and not one of them got written down. And so it came to be the Sunday before the Tuesday of the big speech, and the time for procrastination was over, and the time to get to work was really here. So on Sunday morning, I woke up, I did the Wordle, and for good measure, I also played a few rounds of 10-10 Color. Check your app store. I like to think that 10-10 Color is a form of meditation and therefore exceedingly beneficial to my health. Then I had breakfast, and then of course there were dishes to be done. Then, starting with the obituaries for some reason or another, I read the Chicago Tribune. For those of you who didn't know this, we have been getting the Sunday Tribune delivered to my house for my entire adult life, and I have never once before read it. It was definitely time to start getting my money's worth. But then, seriously, it was time to start writing. I asked myself, why have I been procrastinating? And the answer was, because I am human. And humans don't really like to do what they are fearful of or not particularly good at. And biologically, I think that makes a lot of sense, though there are probably some scientists out there listening tonight who could explain it much better than I can. So on the Thursday night before the Sunday that I finally wrote this speech, while lying in my bed, definitely not following my own advice to patients regarding good sleep hygiene, I typed the search term humanism definition into Google. How did people even write clever speeches before Google? Well, lots of interesting things came up. The Oxford Dictionary defined it as the following: an outlook or system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters. Humanist beliefs stress the potential value and goodness of human beings, emphasize common human needs, and seek solely rational ways of solving human problems. That, and many of the other definitions that I read, sounded pretty accurate to me. I do believe in the value and goodness of humans, and while no one would be apt to describe me as rational, I also believe in science and think that it's important for the solution of many human problems. But these definitions were missing the essence of what makes humanism such an important component of the practice of medicine. Over and over again, as I thought about the definition and ideals of humanism in medicine, and as I pondered the content of the speech, and as I struggled with the nagging feeling that I couldn't possibly say something more interesting or intelligent about humanism in medicine than the many brilliant award winners who delivered this keynote address before me, I kept coming back to the idea of being human, and to the phrase, "we're only human." And this phrase, which supports the idea that we are fallible, imperfect beings, is actually a good way to explain what has been perhaps most important for my development as a doctor and as a teacher. The recognition that we are all only human has allowed me to develop a level of empathy that I think has made a big difference to my patients and to my students. And when I'm really reaching the highest echelon of empathy, a big difference to myself as well. We all make mistakes. In medicine, that is often hard for us to admit for a couple of pretty good reasons. One, because many of us are highly intelligent, high achievers, who are used to being right about many things most of the time. So being wrong is foreign and makes us feel uncomfortable. And two, because our errors can be very high stakes. We are caring for patients. Their lives at times are in our hands, so mistakes here are very scary. When I was a resident, I cried nearly every day of my intern year. Some of you may have heard this story already. This was in part because I was physically exhausted. Being an OBGYN intern in 2002, the year before the 80-hour work week policies took effect, was not a particularly restful experience. But mostly it was because I was mentally exhausted. I was terrified to make a mistake and to potentially harm a patient as a result of that mistake. But over the course of that year, I gained some knowledge and I gained some skills, and with that came some confidence and the realization that I would never be a good doctor if I was terrified all the time and spending a big chunk of my downtime weeping in the dirty utility room of whatever unit I was on. I realized that year that I would make mistakes, but that I could minimize them by recognizing and accepting my fallibility, by being thoughtful, by listening carefully, and most importantly, by seeking help. One of the hardest things to learn in medicine, a field that often prioritizes knowledge above all else, is that we can't possibly know everything, and that we don't need to know everything because we can look things up and we can ask for help. So now, as I go about my days caring for patients, often in the company of learners, the idea that we are all just human underlies everything that I do. When my patients come into labor and delivery, having not sought prenatal care for their pregnancy, it is important for me to remember that they are human, that they have complex backgrounds and life experiences that may impact their ability to access care. Instead of judgment or frustration, I remember this and offer empathy, support, and the care that they really need. Similarly, when a learner makes an error, it is important for me to remember those days I spent as an intern, overcome with fear, scared to make a mistake, and then to use these errors as a wonderful opportunity for learning and for growth. When patients and students and even colleagues are seen and heard and not judged, and their mistakes are accepted, I have found that this is where the trust can really begin. And once you've developed a trusting relationship, the positive effects that the members of the relationship can have on each other is truly remarkable. We have all picked a very hard job. It is time-consuming and energy-consuming and at times totally overwhelming, but these beautiful human interactions we have the privilege to be part of can sustain us. They certainly keep me going, and they are definitely what got me out of the dirty utility room intern year. I am hopeful that the vast majority of the people in this audience already believe in the tenets I learned during my bedtime Google search for the definitions of humanism, that we all instill in our healthcare system the idea that human interests, values, and dignity predominate. But I am also hopeful that each of you is able to embrace the phrase, "we're only human," and that you can spend your careers accepting your patients, your students, your colleagues as whole human beings, including their inevitable imperfections. And if you work really hard, you can identify and forgive your own imperfections as well.
Wow, Dr. Smith. Now that I know that you have this talent, I'll be calling on you to write more speeches for me. So more Chicago Tribunes in your future. I think that we all know why Dr. Smith was chosen after that amazing speech. So I'd like to once again thank her, and now we will move on to the heart of the ceremony by honoring the students that will be inducted this evening. Just a few notes, especially for our students, but also for those watching at home. The pins that the students are wearing have been provided by the Arnold P. Gold Foundation. These pins actually can be worn on your white coats as a symbol of dedication to being a role model and a mentor for humanism in medicine. In addition to the certificates that our students will be receiving shortly, I wanted to let you know that the students are also receiving a book called In Shock by Dr. Rana Adwish. Dr. Adwish is a pulmonary critical care ICU physician in Detroit who found herself on the other side of the bed rail in the ICU that she actually took care of patients in, except she was a patient this time. This is a really incredible memoir. I've had an opportunity to not only read it, but also hear her give a talk about her experiences, and I can think of no other book that would really symbolize the occasion, and I was so pleased to learn that the book was identified by Dr. Orlov as an appropriate way to highlight the importance of compassion and humanism in the practice of medicine, and it is a gift provided by the Pritzker School of Medicine. We will begin the induction by calling each student up to the stage individually to receive their framed certificate, which I will provide you, and then you can take a seat. At this time, I'd like to thank and invite Dr. Orlov to the podium, who will announce the names. Thank you.
So this is my favorite part of the evening, and before I begin, I just want to share with you guys that over the past couple of weeks, I reached out to your faculty mentors and asked them each to share a reflection of the way that you all exhibit humanism in the way that you practice care at the bedside or in the research lab. So as I call your names, I'm going to read some of those quotes, or one of those quotes, and I will ask you to stay in your seat until I have finished, because some of them are long, and then I will call your name again, and you can come up to the podium. I think that when you're hearing these quotes and when somebody's speaking about you, it's easy to sort of get lost in your own head and not to hear what people are saying. So I have also typed those quotes up into a letter, which is also in the bag below your seat. I hope that you will keep those letters with you, share them with your family, and most importantly, read those again during residency when the times get really hard, because it's easy to doubt yourself, and if you read those, you will remember how amazing you are. So I will get started. The first person I'm calling up is Daniel Ahn. Daniel first approached me because he wanted to study end-of-life care, and he took initiative to develop a research project. He spent the summer traveling to dialysis units to interview African-American patients about their thoughts and knowledge about end-of-life care. He approached each patient with compassion and humility. He was able to connect with them across differences of race, class, and health status. I have continued my work with Daniel throughout his medical school career. Our collaborations have spanned a range of topics, but in each of those projects, he has been able to use his work to highlight the concerns of disadvantaged groups and suggest areas for health system improvement. His compassion and caring nature in the service of his patients and community are remarkable. Daniel, you can please come up. And I'm gonna refrain from hugging, since I'm not gonna give you a hug since I'm not. What I was trying to say during the clapping is I would love to hug each of you, but I'm not masked, so I'm going to refrain. Next is Courtney Amagashi. When I think of Courtney, the first word that comes to mind is kind. Courtney carries her natural ability to hear, understand, and connect with people into her clinical work and her care for patients. Whether it's helping to watch over nervous parents-to-be on labor and delivery, putting a patient at ease before they go to sleep in the operating room, or calming a young person's fear over their first gynecologic exam, Courtney seems to be able to identify and help patients overcome their barriers that allow them to focus on their care and take positive steps towards improving their health. I am excited to see the clinician that Courtney will grow to become and the impact she is going to have on the community. Drew Brenner. Trying to remember a specific anecdote, but I will just say that in working with Drew on Gens, I was impressed with her communication skills, not only with her patients, whom she quickly established rapport, but also in the way that she communicated her thoughts and reasoning to the rest of the team. One of the things that stuck out was that while I could usually find my residents in the makeshift workroom calling patients on the phone, Drew was always at the bedside and made a point to be there for her patients physically, and especially now during the pandemic, that means so much. The last thing I will share is that Drew is just a lovely human, aside from being a physician in training and possibly the only student who ever thanked me after yelling at her on an Instagram story to apply more sunscreen. I'm sure you know who that came from. Jorge Luis de Avila. From the moment I met Jorge, he has exhibited a wholehearted compassion and an earnestness that is unmistakable and sincerely genuine. His devotion and attention to his whole patient, family, and community is uplifting and inspiring. It brings everyone in our department tremendous joy and hope that he has decided to become a family medicine physician, and we will always remember him. We wish him our very best. Jennifer Dang. Jennifer demonstrates a recognition of the emotional support that parents need when their child is ill. One example is the care she provided for an oncology patient's mom who was alone at the bedside for the majority of the time. Jennifer would find opportunities to give mom a chance to step away, spending time with the child, playing with her, and taking her on short walks around the hallway. She never looked for recognition for doing these things. I just happened to find her walking one day around the hall with the patient in a wagon so mom could take a shower. That humanism is not teachable, and in combination with Jennifer's thirst for learning, it will take her far. Yazin Elian. Yazin's caring nature shined through with everyone in my research group. Just his presence soothed those around him, and our team functioned at a higher level with him at the core. His research ideas came from a patient-centered point of view, designed to make an impact. I could see the seeds of his future career as a compassionate and thoughtful physician come through during these moments. Lily Lair. Working with Lily was an absolute pleasure. A few things stand out in my mind about her. She has a deep curiosity for clinical medicine and a fierce desire to learn as much as she can. She actively seeks out learning opportunities and embraces the chance to share her knowledge with her peers. She consistently pushed herself out of her comfort zone by taking on the most challenging cases and giving herself entirely to those patients. Lily is also an incredibly thoughtful and reflective person. She gives a lot of herself to her patients when providing care to them, and that commitment really shows in her deep understanding of their clinical course and history. Similarly, her communication skills are exceptional. She is thoughtful about every word she uses and communicates with her patients and team in a way that shows that she clearly has empathy and a deep understanding of them as individuals. Itzel Lopez Hinojosa. Itzel has an enviable resume and academic pedigree. Her research passion is rooted in eliminating healthcare disparities. Given the country's attention towards this topic, it has become a popular discussion piece. For Itzel, it's personal and eclipses a pedestrian discussion. Her personal experiences with caring for family members, acting as a surrogate for their medical care, and reaching out to her Latinx community is admirable. This lived experience is an undercurrent throughout Itzel's research and institutional service. Her actions personify the patient that many students have lost. It was refreshing to see this in her actions with all her patients, and it demonstrates why she performs at such a high level. And we will honor Akosua, who's not here, so I will call on Akosua Pong. At the very beginning of her third year, Akos took care of one of the most challenging patients on our service who had an undiagnosed severe gastrointestinal problem that perplexed us all. The patient was young, didn't expect to be in the hospital for such a prolonged period of time, and was very scared and nervous about navigating through a very challenging diagnosis and a lot of uncertainty. Akos was literally at his bedside every step of the way, even when being at the bedside meant being present and holding space with him, as he was retching and doubled over in a really tough state. She was with him and she stayed with him and provided him updates that he needed to know, that he needed to know even when the rest of us weren't totally sure what was going on. It was not an easy position to be in, but she handled it with plum, and I was so grateful for her presence, and I know that the patient was too. She brought her spirit too, not only just in understanding what was going on, with him, but also in using the case to educate the rest of the community by writing the case up as a clinical vignette. Akos always keeps the patient in mind and always remembers what it is like to watch someone who is suffering physically and also from a lack of knowledge about what is going on. This honor is so well bestowed. We are grateful for you and the role you play in your patients' lives. Erin Reiger. Erin was the only medical student on our service in the last 5 years I have been at the University of Chicago to not only claim responsibility for the patient she was assigned to, but also to round on weekends. Our GI fellows repeatedly told me how impressed they were with her commitment to our patients and her work ethic. Erin consistently demonstrated a maturity level beyond her years. She was compassionate and sensitive to identifying key barriers to care, including financial difficulties, healthcare literacy, and family support. Most importantly, she made patients and families feel comfortable and well cared for while communicating effectively with the entire medical team. She collaborated well with the interdisciplinary transplant team and sought unique opportunities to learn, including going to the operating room to witness the liver transplants of patients she cared for. Erin is an absolute star, and I am not the least bit surprised she will be inducted into the Gold Humanism Honor Society, an honor she truly deserves. Being a healthcare worker has never been easy and has been uniquely challenging in the last 2 years. However, students like Erin give me optimism and strength in knowing that our profession is in good hands in the coming years. Cody Sane. It was an absolute pleasure to work with you in my primary clinic. You have such a way of connecting to patients. I can remember one specific time when you had a patient who was having difficulty sleeping. You not only talked her through pharmacologic and non-pharmacologic topics, but you also showed her how to adjust her cell phone settings to filter out blue light at night. It was such a perfect example of your patient-centered approach, and one that I know you will carry with you throughout the rest of your career. Amelia Waltman. I had the opportunity to serve as Amelia's attending during her sub-internship rotation on the pediatric hospital floors this past June. She immediately stood out as a calm yet strong presence. Amelia's ability to break down educational barriers and update parents on their daughters' or sons' plans for the day was unparalleled. She speaks to families in the calmest way and explains information in a manner that is not only clear, but lowers the anxiety of everyone in the room. She is empathetic and listens generously. I know that if I had a sick child, she is the type of doctor I would want at my bedside, because despite being incredibly intelligent, she knows that the answer lies in the patient, and she will always put the patient and family first. And Helen Way. Helen's dedication to service is amazing, and she is a natural leader. From assisting her colleagues as a peer educator and wellness representative to serving her local community through a variety of research and advocacy and volunteer roles, Helen is in her element when she is helping others. There is no place where she shines more. We have no doubt her passion for engaging with and empowering communities of need will continue during her career, and are confident she will continue to make meaningful contributions in the future.
Wow, Dr. Orlov, what an amazing class that we have inducted into the Gold Humanism Honor Society tonight. And thank you for that amazing work to find out exactly what really led to their induction by reaching out to their mentors. It's truly a special occasion. We do have one other thank you. It's a special thank you at this time. So I would like to invite Jennifer Deng to the podium to do this thank you.
I am so honored to be able to thank Dr. Orlov on behalf of all of my classmates. And the best way that I know how to do that is to share the impact that you have had on me. So I first met Dr. Orlov before I was even a Pritzker student. I came for a visit, and she was one of the faculty who took the time out of their day to welcome students to Pritzker. The first thing I noticed about her was the way she listened to each of us. Back then, we were just names on a list. But while sitting at lunch with Dr. Orlov that day, she gave each of us a voice at the table and made us feel like we had an identity here at Pritzker. During my very first months of first year, while we were all bumbling through anatomy, I was assigned to be in a process group led by Dr. Orlov. It was honestly something I looked forward to every week as a time when we could decompress from anatomy, say what was on our minds, commiserate a little, get advice about growth mindset, and feel not alone. The thing I appreciated most about Dr. Orlov was the way she made every opinion feel validated. During one session, I shared my perspective on anatomy, and then another student shared a perspective very opposite to my own. Dr. Orlov acknowledged both of our opinions in a way that made us both feel heard. She created a space where open dialogue wasn't scary, and she very much made us feel not alone. The summer before my second year, I was assigned to be in a research cluster group led by Dr. Orlov. As we presented our weekly updates, Dr. Orlov sat in the back of the room, listening with the slightest furrow in her brow that let you know she was really thinking hard about what you were saying. I always looked forward to receiving my feedback from Dr. Orlov, as her suggestions struck that difficult balance of being critical while encouraging. This was my first time working with her in a professional setting, and I came to realize how invested she is in the growth of her students. As third years, all of us rotated through the pediatrics clerkship led by Dr. Orlov. This was her turf, and the clerkship reflected her passion for medical education in every way. As a lucky fourth year applying into pediatrics, I was mentored directly by Dr. Orlov. In helping me build my application, she had a remarkable skill of listening to my story and reflecting back on my strengths in a way that made me actually sound impressive. It was clear that she was genuinely invested in my success, and through that conversation, she once again made me feel like I had an identity here at Pritzker. Last week, a Pritzker alum gave me advice for residency. He said, "Wherever you go, find your mentors and learn from their strengths." For example, nobody can match Nikki Orlov's ability to create a safe and supportive space. Dr. Orlov, you have let us feel heard. You have created a safe space for growth. and you have demonstrated true humanism in medicine. We are so fortunate to have you, so on behalf of all of us, thank you.
It took me a moment to get up here because that was beyond touching, Jennifer. Thank you. I'm truly like wiping the tears off my face, so thank you for that. And now to close out the ceremony, I would love to invite these beautiful, incredible honorees up to the podium so we can recite the Hippocratic Oath. And please bring your, your programs. I will let you guys lead whenever you're ready. I pledge that I hold dear the position. I will care for my patients with compassion, respect, empathy, integrity, and clinical excellence. Listen to my patients with my whole being. I will advocate for each patient as a unique individual. I will serve as a role model and mentor to promote humanism in healthcare. I will remember always the healing power of acts of caring. I will dedicate myself to joining with others to make healthcare optimal for all. Thank you. You all can be seated.
As we close tonight's event, I want to also personally acknowledge many people behind the scenes who make these things happen. And the first person I'd like to acknowledge is actually just previously acknowledged, who's Dr. Orlov, whose leadership for this chapter has really, really set the tone, not just for the chapter, but for our school. So thank you, Dr. Orlov, for all of the hard work that you do. I would also like to acknowledge our student affairs team, who are situated in the back of the audience, but truly are always thinking about you in the forefront of their mind. And so particularly Dr. Woodruff, Dr. Lee, Candy Gard, and Kate Blythe, our entire Pritzker School of Medicine staff, for their impeccable organization and commitment to putting together tonight's event and supporting all of our student programs. I don't need to tell you how challenging it is during this pandemic to create community. That's really what we're here to do. We create community so that all of our learners can thrive. And I know that I am so fortunate to have this team be able to help me and guide me and assist me, because this is my first year doing this as well. And so truly it's been remarkable, and I am just really thrilled to be able to have them as part of our team doing this. I would also like to congratulate all of our student honorees who are just so amazing in terms of all of their accomplishments. I look forward to all of the exciting things that you will do in your future career, and please do stay in touch, because it is one of the most amazing highlights of my day is hearing from an alumnus. I also want to acknowledge all of the people that couldn't be here with you, all of the people who are excited about your journey in medicine, your journey to get here, and who are really thinking about you whenever you have either a high moment to share, but also those low moments. And so for everybody who's watching on the live stream, our students, faculty, staff, families, and friends, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. And lastly, I do want to thank all of the staff from the Quadrangle Club, including our AV staff who've made the live stream possible, as well as our food catering service who's made our grab-and-go dinners possible as well. It is working in these days, especially as an essential worker and a staff member, is not easy, and so I'm always cognizant of all of the people who have made our time together special. So thank you very much, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.